Hey, welcome back to Scandic MobilityWOD. Scandic. Here tonight with, oh hey, Jürgen Brolin and Yami Tukkinen, and you know, you can't turn this stuff off. Once you start paying attention, look at how he's blowing away a bunch of torque. He's lost that internal rotation, anterior translation of the shoulder. He's blowing himself out. They're playing imaginary foosball. Actually, we're trying to show you that every good Norwegian gym has a foosball table, and if you don't have a foosball table in your gym, something's wrong. So let's come on into the MobilityWOD, kids. Let's get going. It says right here, gym. So we're in the Scandic Hotel near the airport. Very nice hotel. There's a bar here, a nice little table. We've got a coffee and MobilityWOD ball because you need some nice background, some pictures of girls doing something. I'm not sure what that is. She's overextended over in that picture. I don't know if you can see that. But what we're going to do tonight is we want to have a 2-minute conversation about how to treat a hamstring tear. Some questions have come up on the website recently about what to do if you tear a hamstring. So just careful, don't block the microphone. Perfect. So when we see athletes who have a hamstring tear, one of the first questions is, what happened? And it's really unusual to tear a hamstring if you're warmed up, if you're prepped, if you have full range. These things just don't tear. They're very robust. But when we do have a hamstring tear, oftentimes we need to be thinking about critically what's going on. Muscles, right before they fail, tend to get very, very tonic and very, very tight. It's one of the ways that the muscle will protect a nerve problem going through the muscle, or if it's fatigued and starting to lose force production, the body will just go ahead and clamp it down. That's why sometimes you get that big pump out in your low back when you're deadlifting. You're starting like, oh, I got the pump, the sausage pump. Can't move, and that's your back trying to splint by going and shutting the whole system down. So the problem with the hamstrings is when that starts to get tight, when you get those pre-cues, if you're running 400s or 100s, those pre-cues you feel twitchy, it's going to be that swing through at that high speed that does the hamstring tear. So let's say that it happens. What would you do next? What's the first thing you would do, Yami?
So first thing, hamstring tears, you would start to look at local stuff, icing, 24 hours rest, and then straight in you're going to get into the mobilization. You're going to start low grade and then progress onwards from there.
And that's key, is that we want to basically immediately think, hey, let's get off those tissues, give them a chance to chill, get some compression, get a big, beefy ace bandage, get some compression on there to support the muscle tissue, which is pissed and swelling, get some ice on there right away. Even if you don't think it's going to make a difference, it's going to make a big difference. Cooling that joint off, trying to pull that swelling out of there. But what you heard is you get 24 hours reprieve. Then you need to get in there right away and start doing what? Well, you start to lay down a scar ball on top of that tear, and we need to get that thing reformed and reorganized right away. And so you get 24 hours. Then we do general mobilization, which means, how would you do that?
Okay, so a couple things. You could always start, if you want to go not necessarily directly to the problem, you could go with the ball. Let's say you got the pain in the middle of the hamstring, you could always go to the insertion, start giving some slack to the tissues, have a sit down, put the ball right by the insertion. You've seen Kelly do this before. Put some bias on it, maybe put the leg on, maybe put the feet on, get a little bit of extension going on, make sure you maintain the midline, you don't want to be here, and you start to mobilize away from the problem but still on the same muscle.
Absolutely. And starting, what we don't want to do is we see athletes who typically tear a hamstring and then immediately don't do anything. And when that scar starts to form, it lays down in a really horrible knot. What we want to do is start to encourage those tissues to start to line up and be able to pull in the line of force. And so that's only done through ranging and through gentle mobilization. And that kind of encourages all those tissues to line up so that the hamstrings becomes much more functional instead of laying down a nasty knot of ugliness that doesn't really ever move. And people will talk about how ugly that is and that hamstring always is a problem for a long time. So, once you can get in there, one of the things that we don't want to do is don't necessarily take you to 10 out of 10 pain. We want you to stop right before you start to feel your symptoms so you can start to do some contract relax, stop 1 degree. Even in this position, I could load up and stop 1 degree right before I had my pain, and I can contract relax. Part of this recovery is about telling your nervous system that you're coming again and letting that hamstring know I'm going to be right there. So start contract relax right to that edge set, and if you can't go past that, just hang out there. But we want to start to restore some motion. Very first thing we think about is low-grade motion and then kind of adding more and more rigor to that. So don't take yourself into pain, stop short of pain. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, no, that's good. And often you can also see this pattern when people tear, let's say, the right hamstring. You start to see this tightness on the right front of the hip. Okay, so iliopsoas, rectus femoris. So that hip extension piece is going to get tight. So you might want to start also thinking of the downstream, upstream, and start thinking of the other side your hips as well.
And that makes total sense. If that thing's an extension and pulling, you can see, and that's a movement-based piece, right? This is not some, automatic mojo or mumble jumbo. That's literally, if I'm an extension here, chances are I'm starting to wind up the front of this anterior hip, and this stuff gets tight, and that can be pulling me into extension. I lose my midline, trash the little facet, bam, pull the hamstring. Make sense? So tonight's MWOD, just so keeping that in mind, we're going to go ahead and do reverse hammy, or so reverse ballerina. We did this with Chris Spieler. Throw that leg up, and what's nice about this is that I can get my leg into a little bit of flexion, or at least abduction, and then I can bias this internal rotation. By having the foot up, it's one of the few places where you can actually get that leg in an internal rotation. Yami turns away, turns the hip away, and just opens that up, and you can capture anything that's tight in those positions. You could feel a pinch here, but do that informed freestyling. We work on the abduction, pulling away, work on the internal rotation, work on the extension, and then you're going to find your piece. Let's contract and relax in there for a couple minutes. Every good home gym should come with it a nurse call button. I don't know if you can see this, but that's a nursing call button. And this is the tap out. And you can actually run this over into a position where you are doing some heinous mobilization on yourself, and lo and behold, you just right before you vomit, you pull the nurse tap out button. I mean, this is the dream. Yeah, I'm going to say that you're incomplete unless you pulled this one time. You're not serious about stretching. Oh, it's starting to pull. So when you're in a hotel gym, one of the things you're always going to see is this physio ball, Swiss ball. It's not a Swiss ball because we're in Norway, so this is actually
ball.
It's a Casal ball, or it's a Norwegian ball. And ironically, it's not unlike the national dish, which is what? Moose balls.
Moose balls.
Right, so we had moose
yes,
balls.
Exactly.
Moose balls.
Elk balls.
But one of the great things, elk balls. One of the great things we had, balls of elk, not elk balls. It's different, and big difference. Is that in this position, when I can get, this is one of the most useful pieces here, is that I can get some flexion gapping. So I just want to throw this out there. One of the nice pieces that you can really open yourself up after being a heavily extended athlete. So I'm just going to roll back and forth, relax over this thing. We are going to save for tomorrow night. Yami and I are going to have a timed contest about who can stand up on the ball the fastest. So that's coming tomorrow. But I want to show you tonight a partner stretch, if you can try to wind up, for kind of this lateral hip. So one of the things that we just did is we opened this side, or the inside of the leg, and now we're going to go the other side. So what I do is have my friend sit in this position. He pulls his top leg to his chest. You see him grabbing his foot there. That puts him in flexion so I don't overextend him, much like having the foot up on the wall. I'm going to sit down, away from him, because he disgusts me with his tightness. I'm going to lift his knee up and put it on my leg. You see how that works? So what's happened is I'm starting to bias these tissues on the outside of his leg. I bend the knee, I'm supporting the knee, and then I'm just going to sit out a little bit. So I just lean back. Whoop. I'm on the Euro sport mat, and then I'm just going to pull back a little bit and up a little bit. And so what I'm trying to do is take him into extension, and then the opposite direction of going away, going toward the midline, AD, adduction. So extension, adduction, he can contract, relax here, hold, don't let me move you. He just meets my resistance, release, I sit back a little further, wind him up a little further, and if he feels this in his back, we just reposition him so he's in neutral, he's feeling okay, and then I can just hang out. And this is a kind of a beefy cake test of Ober's test, which is kind of that overtop flexion, abduction, extra rotation piece where we're looking at the TFL. But this is what we're really thinking about, is this, we're really working on this lateral unit in flexion or an extension with that leg coming in. So this would help our runners, for example. So hit, and toy with this for someone, see if you can grab someone. If not, let's get you on the table. Let's go ahead and do couch stretch. We show us couch stretch next to the paintball.
Okay.
Oh, right there. Now go ahead and get next to the tap out. Oh, look at that. There you go. We're going to add those two in tonight. And then, because no good athlete doesn't go anywhere without the paintball, I want you guys to spend some time looking at the whole line between the hamstring and the IT band. So you're seeing that there's kind of a theme tonight. And I want you guys to unglue the line from the glutes, and I'm going to look at that insertion between kind of the high connective tissue piece and then that kind of lateral part of that septum, okay? So that's homework tonight. We'll get one up on tomorrow earlier on, and thanks for being patient with us. We'll see you tomorrow.